Ronnie Coleman, the legend who spent his millions trying to fix his body. Ronnie Coleman earned well over $10 million during his bodybuilding career through Mr. Olympia prize money, worldwide guest appearances, sponsorships, training DVDs, and supplement deals. At his peak, he was one of the highest-paid athletes in the sport, with estimates placing his net worth between $10 to $25 million. However, Ronnie's finances collapsed for one simple reason. He spent more trying to repair his body than he ever earned building it. After decades of lifting record-breaking weights, Ronnie's spine and hips began to deteriorate, leading to 13 major surgeries between 2007 and 2021. Each procedure cost between $300,000 and $500,000, and some hospital stays exceeded $2 million, wiping out years of earnings. Coleman also poured money into failed gyms, a struggling supplement company, and multiple business ventures that never produced stable profit. By the late 2010s, Ronnie admitted publicly that he had blown millions on surgeries alone and would likely never walk normally again. With his competitive income gone and medical bills skyrocketing, most of Ronnie's once massive fortune was consumed by hospital costs, rehabilitation, and business losses. Today, he earns modest income through YouTube, appearances, and his signature series brand, but nowhere near his former financial peak. Rich Piana, the influencer who made millions but spent even more. Rich Piana earned an estimated $4 to $6 million during his peak years, becoming one of the first bodybuilding influencers to turn online fame into real money. His brand 5% Nutrition generated high seven-figure revenue, while merch drops, YouTube ads, and expo appearances brought him $10,000 to $50,000 per event. Piana also made money through sponsored products, online coaching, and paid collaborations. But Rich lived a lifestyle that quickly consumed his fortune. He bought multiple homes, luxury cars, motorcycles, jewelry collections worth over $250,000, and spent tens of thousands on tattoos. The biggest expense was his chemical enhancement regimen. Rich openly admitted to spending $2,500 to $3,500 per month on growth hormone alone, adding up to over $30,000 per year. He also financially supported girlfriends, employees, assistants, and friends, often paying rent or buying them cars. Behind the scenes, 5% Nutrition had high operating costs, lawsuits with former partners, and periods of unstable cash flow. Most of Rich's income was tied up in product inventory, sponsorship commitments, and overhead. By the time of his death in 2017, insiders confirmed Rich had far less liquid money than fans assumed. He earned millions, but his spending habits and business complications drained most of it, leaving his estate in a financially unstable position. Kai Greene, millions earned, but lost through mismanagement. Kai Greene earned an estimated $8 to $12 million across his bodybuilding career, making him one of the highest-paid athletes never to win the Olympia. His income came from Muscle Med's contracts worth six figures per year, international seminars that paid up to $20,000 per weekend, movie roles, including Stranger Things, comic book projects, artwork sales, and a global fan base that bought his merchandise in large numbers. But despite making millions, Kai struggled with financial structure. Growing up in poverty and foster care, Kai entered adulthood with no financial education and often relied on managers who mishandled contracts or failed to protect his interests. Several major sponsorships collapsed due to disagreements or legal disputes, costing Kai hundreds of thousands in lost earnings. Kai invested in supplement companies, clothing brands, and creative projects, but many were poorly executed and never profitable. Travel expenses, international appearances, and constant promotional tours drained money quickly. Kai continued earning, but large portions of his income disappeared into legal fees, failed ventures, and mismanagement. Despite his fame, he never established long-term investments or financial protection. Today, he lives comfortably, but insiders estimate he is worth only a fraction of what he should have, proving that fame alone doesn't guarantee financial security. Victor Martinez, a career destroyed by one arrest. Victor Martinez was projected to become Mr. Olympia and earned several $1 million through prize winnings, supplement contracts, and his New York gym. At his peak, Victor made $300,000 to $500,000 per year, with guest appearances adding thousands more. But in 2011, everything collapsed overnight. Victor was arrested over immigration issues and detained for months, losing his green card and missing the Olympia entirely. His sponsors immediately dropped him, wiping out multiple six-figure deals in a single year. His gym, the Victor Martinez Training Center, began losing money without him present, forcing him into debt to keep it operational. Legal fees for immigration attorneys, court filings, and appeals cost Victor over $100,000, draining the savings he had left. Meanwhile, his body deteriorated from stress and inactivity, permanently damaging his earning potential. When he was released, Victor no longer had the physique, momentum, or sponsorship backing he once relied on. His income dropped by more than 70% within a single year, and several comeback attempts failed to restore his career. Victor's financial downfall is one of the most dramatic in bodybuilding history. A single legal problem erased a decade of income, leaving him with debts, lost opportunities, and a career that never recovered. Nasser El Sonbaty, the bodybuilder who lived beyond his means. Nasser El Sonbaty earned strong mid-six-figure income through bodybuilding, with contest winnings, international tours, and magazine deals bringing him $50,000 to $150,000 per year at his peak. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Nasser was one of the most popular pros in Europe, often performing guest posing events for $5,000 to $10,000 each. But Nasser spent his money faster than he earned it. He lived almost exclusively in luxury hotels, flew first class, maintained expensive apartments in multiple countries, and bought designer clothing and watches costing tens of thousands per year. His food bill alone, built around maintaining 300 pounds of muscle, cost over $30,000 annually. His drug regimen and supplementation added another $20,000 to $40,000 per year. Unlike other pros, Nasser never saved or invested properly. He had no business ventures, no retirement planning, and no steady income sources outside bodybuilding. When his placings dropped, his income collapsed instantly, but he refused to lower his lifestyle. By the time he retired, Nasser reportedly owed money in multiple countries and had accrued back taxes and unpaid bills. When he died in 2013, he left behind unresolved financial obligations and one of the clearest examples of a high-earning athlete who lived like a millionaire without actually being one. Flex Wheeler, a fortune lost to surgeries, divorce, and catastrophic health. Flex Wheeler earned an estimated $5 to $8 million across his bodybuilding career through sponsorships, appearances, seminars, and magazine contracts. In the 1990s, he was one of the highest-paid athletes in the sport, with Gaspari Nutrition and Vider deals worth six figures annually. But Flex's finances were consumed by decades of medical problems. After suffering severe kidney issues, including a life-threatening failure in 1999, Flex accumulated hundreds of thousands in medical bills. His divorce settlements further drained his finances, with some estimates placing the total cost of legal fees, alimony, and separation agreements at over $500,000. Flex also admitted to mismanaging money in his early career, spending heavily on cars, jewelry, and travel without saving or investing. After his kidney transplant in 2003, Flex's medical costs increased again, eventually leading to the amputation of his right leg in 2019, which brought another wave of six-figure medical debt. Combined with failed business ventures, sponsorship losses, and inconsistent coaching income, Flex saw his financial stability collapse repeatedly. He has admitted openly that he lost everything more than once, with health crises wiping out any savings he rebuilt. Today, Flex remains a respected legend, but his finances were permanently crippled by medical emergencies and costly personal setbacks. Shawn Rhoden, a champion who lost every income stream overnight. Shawn Rhoden earned between $1 to $2 million during his bodybuilding peak, with his 2018 Mr. Olympia win launching him into major financial success. Sponsors paid him six figures per year, and international appearances added another $10,000 to $20,000 per event, making him one of the highest-paid pros of the late 2010s. But all of this vanished instantly in July. In 2019, when legal accusations surfaced that derailed his career. Within 48 hours, every sponsor dropped him, including his six-figure contract with ProSups. The Olympia banned him indefinitely, eliminating his contest earnings. All guest appearances were canceled, costing him an estimated $150,000 to $200,000 per year. Meanwhile, Rhoden faced massive legal fees that easily exceeded $100,000, consuming whatever savings he had left. With no income, no sponsorships, and no ability to compete, Shawn's financial situation deteriorated rapidly. Although he attempted to launch private coaching services, the ongoing legal case made it difficult to rebuild his brand or secure reliable clients. By the time Shawn died in 2021, his finances were in severe decline, with most of his income sources permanently cut off. His downfall is one of the most sudden and financially devastating collapses in bodybuilding history. Dennis Wolf, career-ending injury and failed businesses. Dennis Wolf earned an estimated $2 to $4 million during his top competitive years, with sponsorships from major companies paying him $150,000 to $250,000 annually, plus international seminars and appearances worth another $10,000 to $20,000 per event. At the peak of his career, Wolf was a consistent top Olympia contender and one of the most marketable athletes in the sport. But in 2016, his financial future collapsed when he underwent a major spinal surgery that permanently altered his physique and ended his competitive viability. With his body drastically smaller and his competitive career over, Wolf lost nearly all sponsorships within a year. Without contest exposure, seminar requests dropped by more than 60%, cutting off his primary income. Wolf had invested heavily into several small businesses, including a gym and nutrition ventures, but these depended on his active bodybuilding status to attract customers. When his physique declined, business revenue collapsed, forcing him to sell assets and close projects with financial losses. Medical bills from his surgery and rehabilitation further drained his savings, and Wolf quickly found himself earning a fraction of what he once made. Although he later became a coach, his income never returned to its former level, leaving him with far less money than expected for an athlete of his stature. Calum Von Moger: fame, drugs, accidents, and complete sponsorship loss. Calum Von Moger earned significant money early in his career through Gymshark, supplement deals, YouTube revenue, and the film Bigger, where he was paid tens of thousands to play young Arnold Schwarzenegger. By 2018, Calum's total earnings were estimated between $500,000 and $1 million, with brand partnerships bringing him $10,000 to $30,000 per month. But Calum's finances began collapsing after a series of self-destructive events. After tearing his biceps, injuring his knee, and later falling out of a second-story window during a drug-fueled incident, his medical bills reached high five figures. His physique deteriorated, and brands immediately dropped him, wiping out most of his income. Rehab stays cost thousands, and legal issues, including property damage lawsuits and drug possession charges, added even more expenses. Calum burned through savings trying to sustain his lifestyle during his recovery, including paying rent, transportation, and supplements while earning almost nothing. His YouTube income dropped sharply as his views declined, and nearly every major sponsor terminated their contract after his repeated scandals. By 2022, Calum had lost nearly every income source, leaving him financially unstable and far removed from the promising millionaire trajectory he once appeared destined for. Big Lenny. From YouTube, fame to homelessness. Big Lenny became a cult icon in the Delray Misfits community, earning money through YouTube revenue, fan donations, cameo videos, and occasional sponsorships. At his peak, Lenny made an estimated $2,000 to $4,000 per month, with some months reaching $6,000 when fan interest surged. However, Lenny had no long-term career, no financial planning, and no stable employment history. He spent almost everything he earned on food binges, supplements, drugs, fetish content, and random experiments that often cost hundreds of dollars at a time. Lenny's health deteriorated rapidly, leading to hospital stays that resulted in thousands of dollars in medical bills he couldn't afford. Because he never held steady employment, he had no savings, no benefits, and no retirement structure. Sponsorships eventually dropped him due to his unpredictable behavior, and YouTube earnings fell sharply as the Delray Misfits dissolved and his content lost popularity. Without stable income, Lenny was unable to pay rent and eventually became homeless, bouncing between cheap motels and relying on fans for donations just to survive. Once a viral figure with a strong online following, Lenny ended up completely broke, proving that without structure, even internet fame can lead to total financial collapse. Dallas McCarver. Fast money, no structure, and tragedy. Dallas McCarver earned substantial income early in his career through Redcon 1, supplement deals, sponsorships, and guest posing events. By age 25, Dallas was making an estimated $150,000 to $250,000 per year, with additional money coming from online coaching and appearances. But Dallas had no financial structure, no long-term investments, and spent aggressively to maintain a massive lifestyle. His food bill alone reached $30,000 per year, and his supplement and PED protocol easily cost another $20,000 to $40,000 annually. Dallas frequently spent on travel, clothing, gear, and entertainment, with little regard for budgeting or saving. Despite earning more than most young bodybuilders, he had no system in place to manage taxes, expenses, or business planning. Dallas also sustained serious injuries that temporarily halted income, and because he never built passive revenue sources, he relied heavily on sponsorship checks. When he died suddenly in 2017, it was revealed that he had no estate planning, no investments, and no financial protections. Most of his earnings had been spent in real time, leaving a disorganized financial situation behind. Dallas's story shows how quickly money disappears when earned young, spent fast, and never managed responsibly. Craig Titus, crime that destroyed everything overnight. Craig Titus was once a successful IFBB pro who earned strong six-figure income through supplement deals, guest posing, sponsorships, and appearances. At his peak, he made an estimated $150,000 to $250,000 per year, with fitness magazines frequently featuring him and paying for shoots. Titus also earned money from coaching, contest prep, and media projects, building a respectable reputation in bodybuilding. However, in 2005, everything collapsed instantly when he was arrested and later convicted for the murder of Melissa James. This criminal case wiped out every income stream he had. Sponsors dropped him immediately, guest appearances were canceled, and all contracts were terminated. Craig also faced enormous legal expenses, including attorney fees, court costs, investigations, and appeals, which totaled over $100,000. His assets were seized or sold to cover legal fees, leaving him with virtually no money. His competitive career ended overnight, his media presence vanished, and he was sentenced to 21 to 55 years in prison, eliminating any possibility of rebuilding his finances. Craig Titus went from a well-paid bodybuilding figure to completely broke and imprisoned, showing how fast criminal actions can erase an entire career. Mustafa Mohammed, business failures and heavy debt. Mustafa Mohammed earned solid income during his bodybuilding career, making between $80,000 to $150,000 per year during his peak through sponsorships, international appearances, and coaching. After retiring, Mustafa attempted to transition into entrepreneurship, investing in gyms, supplement companies, and training facilities. But nearly every business he launched failed due to poor management, high overhead, and inconsistent membership. Several of Mustafa's business ventures accumulated significant debt, with equipment loans, lease agreements, and investor payouts totaling tens of thousands. When revenue fell short, Mustafa relied on credit and personal loans to keep operations alive, pushing him deeper into financial trouble. Failed partnerships also resulted in legal disputes and settlements that cost additional money. Meanwhile, Mustafa's personal expenses remained high, and without stable long-term contracts or sponsorships, he couldn't maintain the lifestyle he built during his competitive years. By the late 2010s, he faced mounting debt, unpaid business obligations, and declining income due to reduced coaching demand. His financial collapse came not from lavish spending, but from repeated business failures that drained every dollar he had saved. Mustafa became another example of a retired athlete whose ventures fell apart, leaving him with heavy debt and minimal financial security. Jason Genova, a viral star who burned through everything. Jason Genova earned substantial money for several years through YouTube monetization, merchandise sales, sponsorship deals, and fan donations. At his peak, Jason made an estimated $3,000 to $7,000 per month, with merchandise drops sometimes generating $10,000 in sales. However, Jason's inability to manage money and impulse-driven spending caused him to burn through everything almost as quickly as it came in. Most of his income went toward junk food, collectibles, random purchases, Uber rides, and supplements he didn't consistently use. Sponsorships often ended because Jason refused to follow instructions, missed content deadlines, or clashed with companies publicly. Many brands reported he spent money on release day items, then immediately demanded new advances because he was broke again. Additionally, Jason constantly destroyed financial opportunities by leaking private messages, insulting sponsors, or sabotaging long-term partnerships. As his fame declined and the Del Rey Misfits channel fell apart, Jason's income dropped by more than 70%, leaving him dependent on occasional cameo videos and small donations. Without financial planning, savings, or stable income, Jason eventually lost all the money he made during his peak years, ending up nearly broke despite once having a highly profitable online following. Lou Ferrigno Jr., the legacy attempt that turned into a financial trap. Lou Ferrigno Jr. tried to follow the success of his father, Lou Ferrigno, who made millions through bodybuilding, endorsements, and Hollywood roles. While Lou Jr. earned respectable income through fitness modeling, small acting roles, and short-term sponsorships, his total earnings never exceeded low six figures per year, far below the income required to sustain the ambitions he pursued. His team encouraged him to invest heavily into preparing for bodybuilding shows, personal branding, and media development, costing him tens of thousands per year for coaching, travel, drug protocols, and marketing. However, Lou Jr. lacked stable, long-term contracts. Many of his early sponsorship deals collapsed, some due to poor management and others due to inconsistent performance. Acting opportunities were sporadic, often paying only $5,000 to $15,000 per appearance, far from enough to build financial security. Several business ventures he attempted, including fitness brands and merchandise partnerships, either failed or never launched due to poor planning. By his late 20s, Lou Jr. had spent far more than he earned and began falling into debt from training expenses, agent fees, and failed attempts to break into the industry. While he later shifted into acting full-time, his bodybuilding pursuit left him financially stuck and far behind where people assumed he would be as the son of a legend.